Based on Philip K. Dick's short story Second Variety, Screamers takes us to a distant, war-torn planet where killer machines have proved to be the ultimate opposition. We're immersed in a world of paranoia and survival, and the terrifying consequences of unchecked technological advances. This cult classic is full of incredible sets and memorable characters, and the insane amount of plot twists will ensure that it always has a special place in your mind. If you want to ensure your survival on this post-apocalyptic planet, then be sure to subscribe. A group of soldiers watch as a rebel approaches their base. It's not long before screaming machines begin to charge at the rebel. He's able to shoot a few of them, but he's quickly overwhelmed. The machines dart from the sand and cut the man limb from limb before finally going in for the kill. The soldiers notice that the rebel was holding some kind of object, so a man named Chuck exits the bunker to retrieve it. After flipping a device on his wrist on, the burrowing machines seem to ignore the man, so he's able to grab what the rebel was carrying and flee back inside the bunker. Chuck brings the tube to the commanding officer, Joe Hendrickson. Inside, they find a request for a peace negotiation from the rebels. They speak with a hologram from their commander, Secretary Green, back on Earth, telling them not to make any moves yet, while on Earth they will try and begin the peace talks. The world building in this movie is incredible. The sets are huge and practical and usually filled with activity. The war was started due to an overture of mining that sent radiation into this planet's atmosphere. So, in a great little detail, we see the soldiers smoking what they call reds, which are red cigarettes that help to cleanse the radiation from inside of them. The radiation has ruined the planet, and, of course, the war has stalled all mining operations. So now we see the result of what would happen to a world like this after a few years of war. The soldiers are jaded, and everyone on Sirius 6B has had to adapt. Sirius 6B is the name of this planet that they're on, by the way. We learn a little bit about it through some opening narration, but I'll fill you in as the story goes on. An explosion suddenly rocks the bunker, and running to the surface, we see that a transport ship has crashed. The ship is filled with dead soldiers, top-of-the-line weapons, and a nuclear explosive, adding to an odd mystery to the ship that shouldn't even have been here in the first place. They are able to find one survivor, and he's nearly killed by the screaming machines that we saw earlier, only surviving when Hendrickson shoots it from the air. Back inside the bunker, we learn the survivor's name is Ace Jefferson, and he's a weapons expert. Hendrickson is dissecting the machine that we saw earlier, and he tells Ace a little bit about them. The machines are, fittingly, called Screamers, and they are man-made and semi-sentient swords. The military developed them to help with this war on Sirius 6B, and made them able to be completely autonomous. Part of that automation was the ability to rebuild and evolve to be better suited for this planet. Hendrickson has a deep fascination with the Screamers, and he's been monitoring the small evolutions through their CPUs, which come in the form of these circular discs. Ace tells Hendrickson that he was ordered to take the ship to a nearby rebel planet and unload the nuclear bomb to help stop the war. He also says that Secretary Green is gone, and he has been for over 2 years now.
We got a VR communique from Secretary Green yesterday.
Begging your pardon, sir. I don't know what you saw or what was sent to you, but Secretary Green was arrested and eliminated by the Alliance Command 2 years ago.
Hendrickson and Chuck question what everything means, and they come to the conclusion that they are currently being betrayed by their government. Their theory is that the government knows that Sirius 6B has become useless in the overall war and will never be livable again, so instead of using precious resources to pull all of their soldiers out, they want to leave them, making them believe that the war is still pertinent and allow them and the rebels to just tear each other apart. Hendrickson decides to take things into his own hands and meet with the rebels as they requested to end the fighting. He takes Ace with him, outfitting him with a tab, which was the device that we saw on Chuck's wrist earlier. Apparently, Screamers attack people based on their pulse, so the tabs send out a signal that hides a heartbeat and makes the soldiers somewhat invisible to the Screamers' scanners.
Jefferson, you coming or you're breathing hard?
After a full day's travel, they come across a decimated city and are forced to take cover when they see sudden movement. They're surprised to see a young boy holding a stuffed bear step out from the rubble and beg to come with them. They ask the boy what he's doing here and learn that he's somehow survived all alone in the ruins for the past few years. They agree to let the boy travel with them and learn that his name is David. Also, while studying the map, Hendrickson gets a little jump scare.
If you're gonna be a rock, be a rock. Don't be a bug.
In the night, Ace takes off his tab for some reason, and a screamer attacks the trio. Hendrickson is able to shoot the screamer, but he realizes that somehow it was able to see him, despite him having his tab active. He looks at the screamer's body, and it looks different, more animalistic, and the CPU is a different model as well, showing up as a square instead of a circle. The story begins to take off rapidly from this point, and the multitude of plot twists is just about to start happening, so from this point forward, spoilers ahead. As they approach the rebel base, David is shot and thrown backwards. Hendrickson crawls to the boy, but finds that instead of a wound, David has a gaping hole full of electronics, and he comes to the conclusion that David is actually a new model of Screamer. The rebels meet them outside and tell them that these David models have been showing up all over the place lately, and they have been the downfall of a few of their bases. But when Hendrickson tells them why he's here, they invite him inside. We learn the rebels are named Becker and Ross, and they're being hosted by a neutral freelancer named Jessica Hansen. The rebel base is located through some underground passages, but Jessica says that she heard screaming coming from the base a few days ago, and it's been extremely quiet ever since. Hendrickson insists that he still needs to check out the base because the only way to stop the war will be with a face-to-face conversation, and Jessica offers to guide him to the base in exchange for passage back to Earth when the fighting ends. Hendrickson and Jessica hit it off immediately.
Good lord, you're beautiful.
Before leaving Jessica's hideout, Ace arms up with a new gun and even finds a mini Pluto, which is basically a handheld nuke. This might be important later. They travel through the underground tunnels and enter the rebel base, but it's quiet and oddly empty. They find obvious signs of a fight and blood covering the floor, and Ross begins to freak out, but Hendrickson shuts him down real fast.
Jefferson, if that man moves, I mean if he so much as makes a sound or farts, shoot him.
They enter the command deck, but no rebel leader seems to be alive to greet them. Looking for any information he can find, Hendrickson logs into the computer system where he finds blueprints on the different Screamer models. He realizes that the animal version is called a Type 1 and the David version is called a Type 3, but he's unable to find any information on the Type 2s, so there's a mystery afoot. Before he can dig for more information, a David calls out and begins to scream. They all flee as they hear a full army of Davids approaching, but they're able to make it back to Jessica's hideout without really any difficulty. Once they're safe, Hendrickson asks the rebels what they know about the Type 2. Apparently, it takes the form of a human soldier, and the only real way to tell them apart from regular humans is that they tend to repeat the same phrase over and over and over and over. Becker looks at Ross suspiciously and realizes that he has been repeating the same thing over and over.
Get off my back! Get off my back! Get off my back!
Becker throws his knife and gets Ross in the chest, killing him. But when Hendrickson checks for machinery, all he finds is blood, meaning that Ross was actually human. Hendrickson makes the decision to leave and head back to their military base. He agrees to let Jessica join, and after Becker admits that he's made a mistake, he allows him to join as well.
I'll kill you before I let you make another one.
When they get back to the bunker, Hendrickson radios in, but the connection is spotty. Through the static, Chuck repeats the same phrases over and over, and it becomes obvious that Chuck has been replaced by a Screamer. The bunker doors open and dozens of Davids exit the building. They do what they can to fight off the robot children, but their numbers are overwhelming. With no other choice, Hendrickson orders Ace to use the mini Pluto to blow the Davids to smithereens. The tiny nuke explodes, destroying the bunker and knocking the survivors off of their feet. Jessica, Hendrickson, and Ace seem fine, but Becker is screaming for help as he seems to be injured. However, when Ace goes to help Becker, the man goes suddenly psychotic. He picks Ace up and squeezes, crushing his inside and revealing that Becker has been a screamer this whole time. Hendrickson tries to help, and he's able to blow Becker in half, but it was too late, and Ace has died. Jessica asks what they're going to do now, but Hendrickson suddenly reaches out and cuts her palm. He needed to check to see if she bled, and since she does, he's confirmed that Jessica is human. He tells her a way off of the planet, an escape shuttle that was designed for the commanding officers in case things went bad, and things have definitely gone bad. Although Hendrickson and Jessica get their kisses in, so it could be worse, I guess. They begin the trek to the shuttle bay and find it hidden inside of a mountainside. Hendrickson accidentally starts a 20-minute countdown to launch, but he realizes that the overhead crane is blocking the takeoff trajectory. It seems to be malfunctioning, so he's got no choice but to manually operate the crane and get it out of the way. Of course, things have to get worse before they can get better, so as he's working on the crane, another Type 2, this time looking just like Chuck, attacks him from behind. Hendrickson is knocked onto the crane, and the Chuckbot leaps over to finish him off. As he's dangling Hendrickson over the launch bay, Hendrickson stabs him in the chest and then grabs some sparking wires and shoves them onto the knife, causing the screamer to malfunction and fall to his death. Now, Jessica and Hendrickson can finally escape. But there's one more problem. There's only one seat in the shuttle. Hendrickson insists that Jessica take the seat, but she says that she can't. And then, another Jessica suddenly walks up behind them, giving us one more plot twist that Jessica has been the newest version of a screamer this entire time.
We can smile, we can cry, we can bleed.
Hendrickson does his best to fight the Jessicas, but he's very outmatched. Fortunately, the Jessica that he was traveling with has fallen for him, so she fights the other Jessica bot long enough for Hendrickson to rearm himself. Bad Jessica punches a hole through Good Jessica, finishing her off, but her victory is short-lived as Hendrickson shoots her and distracts her just as the shuttle's pre-launch goes off and eviscerates the evil Jessica bot. We get a classic line from the dying Jessica that she was happy to live because she learned how to love, and Hendrickson hops into the shuttle with a whole 30 seconds to spare. The shuttle launches towards Earth, but why don't we get one more plot twist in before we hit credits? As the shuttle travels through space, we see one of the David's bears on the dashboard. It moves its arm, showing that it is actually a sentient screamer. As the credits roll and the echoes of the screamers fade into space, we are left contemplating the haunting implications of what one of these sentient weapons could unleash on Earth. From its gripping storyline to its memorable characters, Screamers captivates us with its exploration of the human condition, the dangers of unchecked technology, and the fragility of trust in a world torn apart by war. Through its intense action sequences, army of Davids, and insane amount of twists, this film has left an everlasting mark on the sci-fi genre. Screamers reminds us that beneath the surface of our darkest fears lies a cautionary tale, urging us to reflect on the consequences of our own creations and the choices we make in pursuit of survival. While nowadays movies about AI and killer robots crop up a few times a year, Philip K. Dick has always written about the dangers that a lack of forethought could mean for humanity as a whole, and Screamers captures this idea perfectly. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope that you guys enjoyed the breakdown of Screamers. If you did enjoy, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on the next one. And if you'd like to watch Screamers for yourself, then check the description for a link for where you can watch it for absolutely free on Tubi. Until next time, you all stay safe out there, and happy watching. Bye-bye.
It started with a small group of builders. Now, BattleBots is the undeniable. irrefutable, undisputed king of robot combat.